Good afternoon and welcome to this afternoon's presentation for Get Your House in Order. Thank you for inviting me. My name is Ron Story, and I'd like to thank Christian Inc. for inviting me to speak at this year's conference. And my invitation is really more on a personal basis with regards to Black legacy, Black wealth, and Black Wall Street. Good afternoon and welcome to this afternoon's presentation for Get Your House in Order. Thank you for inviting me. My name is Ron Story, and I'd like to thank Christian Inc. for inviting me to speak at this year's conference. And my invitation is really more on a personal basis with regards to Black legacy, Black wealth, and Black Wall Street. I've had the fortunate opportunity to participate in the events in Tulsa commemorating the 100-year anniversary of Black Wall Street, as well as the acknowledgement of the 1921 Tulsa race massacre that eventually destroyed Black Wall Street. And that's where we would a little bit later in my presentation, in my experience, talk about legacy and some things that I'm involved with a couple of organizations. So I'm going to attempt to walk us through that exciting involvement and event. A few months ago, nearly a year now, as we all know, during this period of time with COVID, we went from personal meetings to virtual meetings and literally Zoom. I have received a board appointment to an organization called the Black Entrepreneurs Hall of Fame. I have a lot of experience in working with youth entrepreneurship, adult entrepreneurship, business development. As a matter of fact, I'm adjunct at Community College of Philadelphia. I teach as an adjunct professor in 2 programs. Power Up Your Business program, as well as the Goldman Sachs 10K program, where we actually help to re-gear businesses, existing businesses in both programs with regards to either creating a growth plan that can also include legacy and also a what we would call a plan for our Power Up program that involves what some things you could do within a 6 to 12 month period of time that would impact a tactical plan that would impact your business. It could be something as challenging as hiring new staff. Most of the businesses in the Power Up program are family owned. Generally anywhere from 3 to 5 employees that are, and those businesses are located in the commercial corridors in Philadelphia, the commercial business strips, 52nd Street, Lancaster Avenue, Germantown Avenue, Roosevelt Boulevard, throughout the whole city. The city of Philadelphia has about 66 to 72 or so commercial corridors. And the average business revenue for the Power Up program is anywhere between $50,000 annual revenue on up. We've had multi-million-dollar businesses participate in that. But we look at the average. The average is around $250,000 to $1 million of revenue for a community-based business, and have been in business on average about 7 years. The 10K program actually focuses on businesses that are at about $250,000 and up. However, the average business that participate in the 10K Goldman Sachs program are $1 million businesses in and around the Delaware Valley area that encompasses the metro area of Philadelphia, but the core participants are generally Philadelphia businesses, manufacturing businesses, computer businesses, child care businesses, salons, barbershops. It's amazing how some of the those businesses, those health and beauty type businesses, have amassed wealth by virtually managing their business practices pretty well. So let me speak a little bit about, again, my involvement through the Black Entrepreneurship Hall of Fame was brought about to really look at entrepreneurs with regards to Black entrepreneurs and their contribution to business within the context of the United States. But we also have an international flavor, as we will be looking at entrepreneurs globally in the upcoming induction years. And so being involved in the Black Entrepreneurs Hall of Fame, which is sponsored and comes under the Dale Caldwell Foundation, which is an organization that actually works with developing entrepreneurship, education, and empowerment and employment. And the Dale Caldwell Foundation actually started a series, or funds a series of Hall of Fames, Black Hall of Fames. There's a Black Inventors Hall of Fame, a Black Tennis Hall of Fame, and during the course of the past 9 months, we actually developed a Black Educators Hall of Fame, a Black Executives Hall of Fame, and as you know, there's other halls of fame: Black Sports Hall of Fame, a Black Football Hall of Fame, Black Basketball Hall of Fame. Those aren't part of the Dale Caldwell Foundation grouping of Hall of Fames. And here's one of the pieces that Dale Caldwell shared with the advisors and the board members of the Caldwell Foundation is basically, when you look at an awards type of program, that's an event and that's a moment in time. When you look at a Hall of Fame recognition, that's in a sense eternal. So we're looking at the excellence of Black participation in a variety of areas that we have contributed to in this United States. And so in that, we formed over the past 9 months an organization based on excellence, Black excellence, the Black Excellence Alliance. And we looked at Tulsa as a city in which the excellence of Black Wall Street, that ecosystem that actually existed prior to 1921, that was founded, the Greenwood District in Tulsa was founded. I'm gonna be a little choppy with it. I'm not gonna be really that exact without looking down to read, but I'm in thumbnail sketching. There was a gentleman named Gurley who purchased over 96 to 100 acres of land, and he purposed to develop a community in which Blacks could thrive and depend upon African Americans, Black Americans can depend upon one another. Just a little bit, you're gonna hear me go back and forth with some history here, because we're talking about a short period of time, 100 years ago. When you look at the migration west, that Trail of Tears, a lot of African Americans, particularly after emancipation, were given land grants and land rights to parcels of land in the West. California, Oklahoma, Arkansas, you name it. There were areas in which African Americans was given homestead rights to, if they could get there, they can put a stake in the ground and they can just go ahead and start making it happen. Well, Gurley went out with the purpose in mind to create a community in which to get away from those the Jim Crowism and the racism of the South, even though it still existed in the West, but within a community of their own. And so in that, you had the highest concentration of Black legal minds. There were more Black lawyers in the Greenwood, Tulsa district than any other place in the United States. There were more Black millionaires in that same space. Thus, it was tagged the name Black Wall Street. And actually, they weren't the first Black Wall Street in the United States. Durham, North Carolina actually holds that designation, but the Tulsa area was more prosperous. As a matter of fact, it took $1 over a year to travel out of that community. That community had hospitals, its own school system, its own bus system. It had an airport, and it also had a couple oil wells. Tulsa, Oklahoma at that time in the early 1900s to about around 1925 or so was the oil capital of the world. They was pumping more oil in Oklahoma than any other place on the planet. So pumping and refining oil out of that area. So when you look at the wealth that existed at that time, it's amazing. For me, many people have just recently come to the knowledge of Tulsa and Black Wall Street within the past few years, and particularly most recently was a TV series on HBO with Regina King as the lead actress in that series called The Watchmen. And the opening episode, in episode 1, to me is the best depiction of the beginning of the race massacre, the destruction of Black Wall Street on film than I've seen in 30 years. And I say 30 years because I've been aware of that destruction of Tulsa over a 30-year period of time. And it's kind of interesting. I was sharing with Rudy Ellis that wanted to play some music in the backdrop, and it has a pretty nice dancing beat from the Gap Band. The Gap Band is a band originated out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and they wrote a song in 1982 that was entitled "You Dropped a Bomb on Me." Now it's a dance tune, but the lyrics, when you look at the meaning of the lyrics, was that it really was an education of that at one point there was this rich community in Oklahoma and it was bombed. That was the first time that an American community was bombed by other Americans, in that sense, a white mob. So we want to park that because I'm going to move back into the excellence that actually existed prior to May 31st, June 1st, 1921. And then they actually went into and they rebuilt with all the stipulations that was put into play to stop African Americans from moving back into the district that actually exists till today. I will touch on that as well. They actually rebuilt Wall Street, Black Wall Street. Now we got to look at it this way again. Gurley purposed in his mind to build a cohesive Black community. And you have to understand it was segregation and Jim Crow back then. Whites did not mingle with Blacks. It was illegal and it was against the law to even intermarry with whites. And there was other types of laws that was prohibited African Americans from even banking in a white bank or getting a mortgage in a white bank. So for us, for the Black community, we had to depend upon ourselves. And so again, in Tulsa, in Durham, North Carolina, and in Wilson and Wilmington, North Carolina, and in Redwood, Florida, there was multiple communities in which, I'll say ecosystem, of which African Americans were dependent upon ourselves, and we did pretty well. Other than the toxicity of racism in that Jim Crow South, other than that, we actually were able to depend upon ourselves, educating ourselves within that ecosystem. So, with that said, I got active with the Black Entrepreneurs Hall of Fame. And we were in that organization is made up of advisors and board members nationally. And then we actually formed a coalition through the Caldwell Foundation to create the Black Excellence Alliance. And we partnered with the University of Tulsa holding a speaker series of entrepreneurs on a monthly basis. We had Don Peoples. Don Peoples is the he has the a real estate investment and development firm, and he's the largest African American real estate investment firm in the country, of assets of over $1 billion for the People's Corporation. Then we also had William Thompson, who with WTT is one of the leading information technology companies in the United States. He has assets of over $700 million with that business. So we were bringing on entrepreneurs such as that to share how they develop their company to do what they're doing, and then how others can get involved like that. So we had a series every month on Zoom, in which we would again partner with University of Tulsa, and Amanda Chastain, who's the diversity officer at University of Tulsa, led that participation with that. So again, that was our connection to Tulsa, and the reason why we looked towards Tulsa to hold our first Halls of Fame induction. We recognize Black entrepreneurs for the Entrepreneurs Hall of Fame, and we also recognize Black inventors for the Black Inventors Hall of Fame.